Hello everyone on Dennis Master YouTube channel. Today we're gonna take interview one of member of Sui Foundation. Alex, how are you doing?
Hello, hello. Hey, Denise. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Alex from Sui Foundation. I'm on the developer relations team. And we have met with Dennis in Portugal like a month ago or something. And Dennis is a very good developer, and I was very impressed.
Can you intro a bit around yourself and what you do in Sui Foundation?
Yeah, of course. So, as I said, I'm in the developer relationship team, which means that we are catering to the builders of Sui. We try to address or assist them with any issues they have. We try to bring new devs into the ecosystem, and we're doing a lot of activations for that, like hackathons and hacker houses and workshops. A bootcamp that's running in the Lisbon, in the Portugal area for these 2 months. And then we are the voice towards the internal part of the company, the voice of the devs. And if they want to see something, they need a tool or something like that, we discuss with the teams from Miston Labs, which are the main contributors to Sui. And otherwise, we try to make that happen, whether that's through RFPs or in the rare exceptional cases, we try them ourselves, but we don't really have time lately to do that. So that would be in a short introduction. The idea is that we are the people that are looking after the devs and the builders of Sui.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a few questions to ask you to this interview and share knowledge to members that like to watch us today. The first one is what Sui blockchain makes unique layer one compared to other like Solana or Ethereum or Aptos. In your opinion, what it doing so unique?
So yeah, this is a good question. Sui is really unique from a point of view, from a technical point of view. Sui has another architecture on the way that it represents internally all the blockchain itself, like all the assets. The assets are first class citizen of Sui along with addresses, and we adopted a model that we call object centric, which is the main and the most important difference from all the other blockchain. And this difference allows us to do any other thing differently. Like for example, consensus is a DAG, a DG, directly like strictly graph consensus, and Sui. And even though there were papers like talking about it, like Sui is the only one who managed to implement it and to have a working implementation. The mode language that we're using also it's a bit different and needs to cater and to allow to be able to express the object centric model. Consensus is different. There are transactions that do not go through consensus, again, as a consequence of the model. So Sui is different from many point of views, but the root cause is the model that we adopted and the way that we represent assets as first class.
Yeah, it's very nice to use as developer. I like to operate like objects instead of using the accounts, like borrowing the object from accounts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty good, I think, for developer experience.
If I may add something here from my point of view, the way I see it, it's a very naive way to see this, but in my experience before, there were functional programming languages and then object-oriented programming language came. So I feel like it's more or less the same. Like you need a shift in perspective in the way that you code, in the way that you think about the interaction from the blockchain, and it is not unlike the shift in perspective and mentality that you need to have if you're moving from a functional programming language to an object-oriented programming language.
Yeah. The nice side of it, I think it can be like unexpectedly discarded, like these assets, and you cannot post it like in some other approaches. Next one. How you think will Sui kind of replace Ethereum in computing area or Bitcoin in as like a digital gold area, because Sui has restricted amount of coins. As I remember, like 10 millions overall.
10 billion.
10 billions overall.
10 billion. So yeah, I will tackle the Bitcoin question first. Like I would put it like this: like if I draw parallels to the real world, gold it is an asset, but it's an asset that you usually keep and does nothing until you need to liquidate it, right? It's just something that you hold, and that's the way that I feel about Bitcoin. And when I look at Sui, I feel more like it's an asset that has more utility We're trying to bring a lot of stuff on Sui to have a lot of real use cases that actually have some value, bring either entertainment or make things for people easier. So you would want to call Sui because what you can do on Sui and not because it's going to go up in price or something like that. And this is how I feel about it. And in my mind, there's a clear distinction. Like Bitcoin is something that I would call if I want potentially, to keep to have an asset that grows in price and Sui more for the utility of it and the things that I can do on Sui. So I'm not seeing like Sui replacing Bitcoin anytime soon from that perspective, but I am seeing Sui being used more than Bitcoin or being more preferred than Bitcoin because of what Sui is going to be able to offer. And for the Ethereum question, even though I don't like to target a specific chain or something like that, Ethereum is the first chain that had computing on it, and Vitalik has done a great job. Like even the idea was pretty groundbreaking at the time. I feel they have stagnated on the research part though, so Ethereum is still a bit slow. It's still you need layer twos, and people like us who are devs, we understand that when you have a system where you need to build on top of it a layer two or something like that, and in order to to fix some issues, that is not an actual solution to the problem. It's more like a patch. So this is not scalable. So unless Ethereum finds a way to adopt like newer technology or make their transactions go faster and the gas cheaper, I feel that it will drop in the background sooner or later. But this is a very biased opinion. Of course, I'm very used to Swiss speed, so I would never go as a dev to Ethereum for the things that I want to do. I like games, I like stuff like that. So, but then again, we never know how blockchain is going to be adopted, right? As adoption will come at some point. We don't know in which form, and maybe the use case is more valid to use Ethereum versus. I cannot think of a reason, but that's very well probable. So again, this is not an answer. I'm saying that both ways are probable. I feel actually it's more probable to be more dominant in the future just because the technology is better and the people behind Sui are continuing improving. So they haven't stopped and said, okay, we have the fastest chain or the best chain and we can now rest. They continue, improving their consensus. We already had an upgrade, another upgrade is coming again on the consensus to make it faster, something like that. So as long as we keep doing that, I believe that it will be a major player, dominant player in the market, and may very well overshadow all the other blockchains that are not investing as much in research and innovation.
Thanks for opinion. Also, if you want to get pause, you can say me. I will cut it on montage.
Yeah. Okay. No. Okay.
Yeah. So the next one question that I wanted to ask you, I as traditional developer, why I wanted to dive to Sui, why I want to go to Web3, as traditional developer.
Okay, this is another loaded question. I will break it into parts. First of all, I will express my opinion over here that blockchain is going to be used. So blockchain as a technology offers some things like trust and transparency that are not available in general on anywhere else, like in any other product or situation or system. So, and as demand for this thing ramps up, I'm pretty sure that companies, people, governments eventually will adopt blockchain whether they like it or not. So, as a developer, you have to actually be at the starting phase of something that is quite revolutionary. Then it's a good idea to dive into blockchain in general. Now, if you have decided that you want to explore blockchain technology, I will sincerely suggest you try Sui first. Sui has a lower learning curve, from my opinion, for a Web2 developer compared to a Web3 developer, because, as I said, most developers write object-oriented programs and move, in my opinion, is closer to object-oriented program language, though the differences are quite starking. But I'm just saying, compared to other languages in other blockchains, and the way that you write smart contracts. So it's a bit of a lower curve. You have to learn a language if you want to dive into Web3. Learning Move, I think it's easier compared to other programming smart contracts languages. And also, then it's the communication from blockchain to Web2 to blockchain, which again, I feel that not so easy. I won't say it's necessarily easier. I know Solidity has APIs. I know Solana is very difficult, for example. So that would be, if you're doing Web to do it, yeah, prepare Sui over Solana. I'm not saying that Solidity is much worse. And again, I managed to not answer the question. But yeah, Sui it's faster. My main point, so my main argument would be that as a Web2 developer, which especially if you're in the application side and you're used to create very good applications for your users and you're very particular about speeds and the UX and the product that you want to provide to your user, then you would want to choose Sui because Sui is the chain that allows you, the greatest speed and the most Web2-like experience. So if you want to keep providing a similar experience using Web3, Sui is the chain to go. The other, most of the chains are slower. So you would have to actually learn some things that you don't care right now as a developer. You don't care if you know that something will happen. Right now, if you do an HTTP request, you just wait for the response. I know that everything happens async, but still, in your mind, in your intuition, this is going to happen over a few milliseconds, right? But when you need to wait 10 or 30 or 1 minute to get a response for a transaction, then you will have to write your program in a different way, right? Or maybe a bit optimistically, and maybe in a way that actually accounts for the fact that you will have an answer if the thing that you want to happen, but much later in time. So if you want to start learning about blockchain and blockchain development, I think it's much easier to go on Sui because you have the speeds and you don't have to change to learn these things as well. So that's why I'm saying that the learning curve is a bit lower on Sui because a lot of people don't actually realize this. But I have worked with on Sui. We are trying to actually induce mass adoption, so we are working with a lot of Web2 companies that want to dive into Web3. And I'm seeing all the developers, especially companies that have tried other chains for whatever reason. And I've seen them, very frustrated having to do all of these things, to actually account for the fact that when you have an account, maybe on a chain, then that is locked. You cannot do 2 or 3 or 4 transactions at the same time. You have to wait every transaction to finish in order to go to the next. And you need to think of a way how to deal with that. You don't in Web2 you don't have to do this. And again, then a transaction might need 20 or 30 seconds in order to say that we have finality. Again, in Web2 you're not familiar with these things, so you haven't encountered this problem. It's again you will have to devise a way which might not be the same in each instance to tackle. So all of this can lead to a lot of frustration and can deduct from or make the process of learning slower. So it's the best to start with we understand the blockchain technology, understand that how it works, what are transactions, what are the main things that you need to actually take into account when you're talking to a blockchain. And eventually, if Sui is not good enough for you, then move to another blockchain and try what's different, having that base knowledge and then expanding it.